I built the client services department from the ground up, trained dozens of people, and negotiated over 100 major contracts. I had stayed late on holidays, worked through personal heartbreaks, and given more to that place than I ever gave to myself. And yet, on an ordinary Tuesday morning, I stood by the office coffee machine, pouring oat into my cup, when Ryan Cole, the founder's son, and the brand new CEO, walked in without so much as a hello. He just looked at me like I was an outdated poster on the wall. "Lily, I need to see you in my office," he said. It wasn't a request. It was a command. I followed him, my steps calm but my heart pounding. He didn't sit down when we got there. He didn't explain. He didn't even look up from the papers on his desk. "You're fired," he said flatly. I blinked. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. We don't need lazy people dragging this place down." Lazy? After 11 years? For a moment, I thought it was a joke. A cruel prank, but he was already moving on to the next folder, like I was nothing more than a name on a list. I could have yelled. I could have begged. I could have reminded him that I built the very department his office overlooked. But instead, I did the only thing I could control. I smiled. A small, calm, deliberate smile. "Understood," I said. "Have a nice day, Ryan." And then I walked out, passing my team who stared with wide eyes. I gave a small shake of my head. "Don't make this harder. Don't follow." I packed up my desk in silence. But I wasn't angry. Not yet. Because something about the timing didn't feel right. And I was right. The drive home felt longer than usual, even though I'd taken that route for over a decade. Every corner, every traffic light reminded me of a late-night phone call I'd answered for work, or a detour I'd taken after staying late at the office. 11 years. That was more than just time. It was sacrifice. It was commitment. It was birthdays missed, holidays shortened, and family dinners postponed. I gave that company more than I gave to my own marriage. And just like that, it was over. I sat on my couch in silence, still in my work clothes, my coffee now cold and touched beside me. I wasn't crying. I didn't even feel angry yet. Mostly I felt hollow. But underneath that emptiness was a small, persistent voice, one that kept asking the same question. Why? Why fire me now? Why with no warning? Why with no explanation? Ryan didn't know me. He'd only been in the building a few weeks. We hadn't even had a full conversation. And yet he walked in, played boss, and cut me loose like I was an old file taking up space on his desktop. But the part that wouldn't let me sleep that night wasn't the insult. It was the timing. You see, just 3 days from now, we were set to finalize the Kingswell deal, a major contract I had spent 6 months building from scratch. I knew the client, I knew their concerns, and I had personally booked the final review for Friday morning. No one else had even met their executive team. Would Ryan really throw that away? I tried to tell myself he knew what he was doing. Maybe he had a new strategy. Maybe someone else was being promoted. But in my gut, I knew the truth. He didn't read the contract. So he didn't care about the work. And he had no idea what he had just done. That thought kept me awake into the early hours of the morning. And it wasn't until my phone rang the next day that I realized someone else had noticed too. My phone buzzed just after 9 a.m. the next morning. I stared at the screen. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail. After what happened, I didn't feel like speaking to anyone, especially not someone from the office. But curiosity won out. I answered. "Lily," the voice on the other end said, and I immediately recognized it. It was Mr. Cole, the real CEO, the founder, the man who had hired me 11 years ago with nothing more than a firm handshake and one long, intense interview. "I just walked into the office," he said, his voice tight. "Why the hell did you pack up and leave?" I hesitated. How do you tell a man that his own son fired you without blinking? "Your son fired me," I said quietly. Silence. Then a sharp inhale. "What?" "Yesterday. He said I was lazy, said I wasn't needed." I could hear papers rustling on his desk. A thud, then more rustling. "Did he, Lily? Did he read your contract?" My eyebrows pulled together. "What do you mean?" "He's supposed to finalize the Kingswell deal today, isn't he?" "Yes, we were scheduled to meet at 11. "Jesus Christ," he muttered. Another thump. I could almost see him flipping through files in frustration. "Lily," he said slowly, "your contract has a clause. One I insisted on. After the Steel Ridge incident, we made sure it was in writing. You're not just the account manager, you are the only authorized negotiator on the Kingswell deal. I froze. He can't close the deal without you, Mr. Cole continued. Not legally, not practically, not ethically. That contract falls apart unless you're there. A slow, burning realization spread through my chest. Ryan had no idea. He hadn't read the clause. He hadn't looked at the contract. He had fired me without understanding what I actually did. And now the entire company was standing on the edge of a cliff because of him. Mr. Cole didn't say anything else. He didn't need to. We both knew what this meant. Ryan had just lit the fuse on a bomb he didn't even know he was holding. And I was the only one who could stop it. By 10:13 a.m., my phone had turned into a siren. First it was Ryan, then the receptionist, then someone from legal, then accounting. I didn't answer any of them, not one. My voicemail icon blinked like a strobe light. I tapped it open and listened. Lily, hi, it's Ryan. His voice was strained, clipped at the edges. Listen, there was a misunderstanding yesterday. I might have acted too fast. We need you back today. It's urgent. Please call me. Urgent. Not sorry. Not we made a mistake. Just panic wrapped in fake professionalism. I took a sip of cold coffee, still sitting on my couch in my pajamas. I didn't move. At 10:32, another call came in. This time from Nicole, someone I hadn't spoken to in a while. We used to be close when she worked in my department. She transferred to marketing a couple years ago. I answered. Lily, she whispered, you won't believe what's happening here. Try me. Ryan just got chewed out by his dad, in front of everyone. The meeting room was full. Mr. Cole walked in and slammed the Kingswell contract on the table. My eyebrows raised. He brought the contract. Oh yeah, Nicole said. And he asked one question, did you read this before firing Lily? Ryan tried to bluff, said something about restructuring the team, but Mr. Cole wasn't having it. He flipped straight to the clause, the one that says you're the sole negotiator on Kingswell. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. Lily, she continued, he looked pale. Ghost pale. He realized he's the reason Kingswell's about to walk away. I exhaled slowly. And Mr. Cole? He said, and I quote, if this deal falls through, your position here becomes negotiable. The silence that followed was heavy, but not for me. For once it wasn't mine to carry. Whatever you're planning, Nicole added, you have the upper hand now. I hung up with a soft thank you, then stood and looked out the window. The city was still, unmoved by office drama. But inside me, something had shifted. I wasn't just the woman who got fired anymore. I was the woman they needed, the one thing standing between them and disaster. And for once, I would be the one setting the terms. By noon I was dressed and ready, not in my usual office wear, but in something more deliberate. A crisp navy blazer, tailored slacks, and a pair of heels I hadn't worn since my last major pitch meeting. I didn't use the employee entrance. I walked through the front lobby like a guest. Eyes followed me. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Some people glanced away. Others looked right at me, half curious, half guilty. The receptionist stood up as soon as she saw me. Ms. Harris Lily, she stammered, Mr. Cole is expecting you. Right this way. I followed her down the hallway I had walked hundreds of times. But today everything felt different. Not because I had returned, but because I had a choice. Mr. Cole was standing at the door to his office. He wasn't smiling. Lily, he said, giving a respectful nod. Thank you for coming. I nodded back. No handshake. I didn't offer one and he didn't expect it. Inside his office I took the seat across from his desk. He closed the door and let out a long breath. I made a mistake, he said. A big one. I gave my son too much authority too soon. I thought he needed room to prove himself. I didn't expect him to burn bridges before learning how to build them. I didn't speak. I let the silence do the work. What he did to you was unacceptable, he continued. It was reckless, disrespectful, and frankly, it put everything we've built at risk. I finally spoke. Yes, it did. I've read the contract again, every word. You were given full autonomy over Kingswell, and legally, they won't recognize anyone else in your place. I nodded slowly. So what now? I want to offer you your job back, with full authority to finish the deal, and whatever conditions you need to feel protected, we'll put it in writing. I looked him in the eye. I'll return, I said, but I want it all in writing, a revised contract, clear control over Kingswell, no interference from Ryan, and one more thing. I paused. This can't happen again, not to me, not to anyone. He didn't argue. He nodded, serious. You have my word. And just like that, I stood not as someone begging for a second chance, but as the one giving it. The Kingswell team arrived at exactly 1:30 p.m., sharp. The meeting room was ready. The documents were printed. I had even taken the time to prepare a translated version of the final agreement, anticipating every question they might raise. Their CEO, Mr. Sammer, stepped in with his aides, a sharp man known for walking away from deals at the first sign of internal dysfunction. I greeted him in Arabic, just as I had months ago, and his face lit up. You remembered, he said, smiling. Respect goes a long way, I replied. The meeting lasted 2 hours. Every point we had discussed over the last 6 months was confirmed, clarified, and sealed with a handshake. We signed the deal. The contract was saved. After the clients left, Mr. Cole approached me. His relief was almost visible. You saved us, he said quietly, and I owe you more than just an apology. You owe your company a leader, I replied, one who knows the difference between power and responsibility. He nodded, no argument. For a moment, I thought maybe the worst was behind me. Maybe Ryan had learned something from all this. Maybe he'd retreat with whatever dignity he had left. But I should have known better. Because men like Ryan don't go away, they regroup. The first sign came quietly. My travel reimbursement routine paperwork was delayed. Then came an internal memo that listed my department head as interim only, despite my signed return. Next, an email I had never sent, containing incorrect client data, was forwarded to one of our overseas partners under my name. Thankfully, that partner reached out to me directly to clarify, but the damage was already done. The seed of doubt had been planted. I reported the issue to IT. They ran checks. There were no signs of hacking. The email had originated from an internal server, from inside the office. And that's when I knew. Ryan had changed his tactics. He wasn't trying to fire me anymore. Now he wanted to ruin me slowly, quietly, make me look unreliable, unstable, a liability. But this wasn't my first job. I'd seen this playbook before. And I wasn't 22 anymore. I didn't plan to disappear. I planned to document. Because the most dangerous thing in a toxic workplace isn't anger. It's evidence. I started keeping records. Every odd delay, every document that came back mysteriously altered, every meeting I was left out of without notice. I saved emails, printed memos, and kept a private notebook with times, dates, and exact words from every conversation. I didn't confront Ryan. Not yet. I knew his type. He thrived on reactions, on chaos, on making others emotional so he could paint them as unstable. I wasn't going to give him that. Instead, I watched, I waited. And then, one afternoon, as I passed the glass-walled conference room on my way to the printer, I heard him. His voice carried louder than it should have. She's unstable, he said. I stopped. Since she came back, she's been erratic, aggressive. I don't think she's fit to manage high-stakes clients anymore. I froze in the hallway. I'm just saying, he continued, maybe it's time we start thinking about succession planning for client services. She's clearly overextended. Another voice responded. It was someone new, a junior executive. But the Kingswell deal, they said quietly. She pulled that off under serious pressure. Ryan scoffed. She got lucky. We can't run a company on luck. I stood there for a few seconds more, my blood cold but my mind razor sharp. He wasn't just playing office politics anymore. He was planting seeds, positioning himself to take back control, undermining me in whispers, hoping they would grow into reasons, into meetings, into decisions. But I had spent my entire career proving myself in rooms where no one expected anything from me. I wasn't about to start explaining my worth now. That evening, I went home and compiled everything: emails, notes, screenshots, timelines. I wrote a summary, clear, professional, precise. And I sent it to Mr. Cole. No emotion, just facts. Then I added one final line. I'm not asking for revenge. I'm asking for protection from the exact behavior that nearly cost this company its most important deal. It hit send. And for the first time in weeks, I exhaled. Because I hadn't just defended myself. I had built a wall of truth Ryan couldn't climb over. And I wasn't going to fade away. I was going to rise and let him stumble over the damage he created. The response came first thing the next morning. Mr. Cole called me into his office. No assistants, no distractions. He closed the door behind me and motioned for me to sit. His face was tight, not angry, but serious in a way that told me everything I needed to know. I read every word, he said, and I believe you. I nodded once. He leaned forward, elbows on the desk. So we've opened a formal investigation. Effective immediately, Ryan has been placed on administrative leave from all high-level operations. He paused. I should have done this sooner. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. Some truths speak loudest in silence. By the following Monday, an internal memo was sent to the entire staff. My title was updated Director of Strategic Partnerships. My autonomy was confirmed in writing, Ryan's name, absent from every meeting notice, every planning document. The mood around the office shifted. People who once looked through me now looked up to me, not out of fear, but respect. Still, I didn't celebrate. Because this wasn't a win in the traditional sense. This wasn't revenge through destruction. It was redemption through proof. I didn't burn bridges. I simply walked across one I had quietly rebuilt with my own hands. To those watching from the outside, it might have looked like nothing happened. No dramatic showdown. No public meltdown. But I know better. And so do they. So here's what I'll say to anyone who's ever been underestimated, pushed out, or replaced without a second thought. Your value doesn't vanish just because someone else refuses to see it. You are not invisible. You are not disposable. And when the time comes, your voice calm, steady, full of truth can shake a building louder than any scream. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been made to feel small in a room you helped build, I invite you to share your story below. Let people know they're not alone. And if you believe in standing strong, in rising quietly, and in reclaiming your power, hit like, leave a comment, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Because